Meeting to order. It is roughly 6 o'clock, and let us stand for a pledge.
Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It appears that we have all of the council members present, so therefore we can act on city business. We had a city workshop earlier, and there might be some items that came out of that, and so before we go ahead with the agenda, I believe Bill, you had wanted to add.
So under number 5, additions to the agenda, I would like to add under 11, E as in Edward, Cole/Heather Thomas's driveway, and then F as in Frank, abandoned house with cats.
Okay, and the other item that we have is under Council Action 11C, that request to remove the declaration of restriction. That did not come to fruition, that we talked about earlier in the workshop, so we could cancel that off the agenda also, 11C. Okay, motion would be in order.
So moved.
Okay, motion's been made to accept the agenda with the modifications of Council Action C omitted, and Council E and F added under Section 11.
Second.
Is there a second? Motion is second. Is there any other discussion? Sensing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions, saying none, passed unanimous. Thank you. We will now move on to Resolution 2020-27, accepting the July 2020 donations. There was one, and it was I'm missing it. It was a $14 item. Oh, here it is. Therefore, the Rockville City Council formally accepts the following donations, contributions given to the city during the month of July 2020 and agrees to their associated stipulations. $14 to Rockville Veterans Monument.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept 2020-27. Discussion. Sensing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Abstentions, seeing none, passed unanimous. Very good. We will now move to approval of the July 2020 bills. If there are any conflicts, please share.
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
We're on the bill.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're right to number 7, I believe.
Approval of bills.
Motion is made to accept the bills.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and accepted, motion's been made and seconded to approve the July 2020 bills. Any discussion? And I have no idea if there was any conflict of interest. If not, all those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
I'd like the record to reflect that I abstained from check number 019985.
Okay, the records will show that Ryan abstained from that particular due to the potential conflict of interest. Okay, moving along to item number 8, consent agenda. If appropriate, we can do them all in one.
Now I'll make that motion to accept the consent agenda.
I got a question.
Sure, please proceed, Jerry.
The Pilgrim's Road restriction permit, do we direct which way they go? I mean, where I'm going at with this is, can we tell them not to go on the tarred portion, to go up, the Granite House over here? What road is that?
Pine and Roush.
Roush Lake Road?
They're coming in off of County Road 8.
Yeah, don't go in off of County Road 8?
I would recommend it, let them go now. Shortest road. The less amount of road there.
Yeah, but the other way doesn't have any tar.
Yeah, it does.
Where?
Roush Lake, it's got tar on it.
It's about half.
If there's an in-depth discussion, then we should go and pull it from the agenda or something like that, start a discussion.
But that's built heavier than that road is going.
So it's got tar, and it's a lot less road there on it.
Okay, just a suggestion.
Okay, so I stand as we were, someone make that, make that consent agenda, and that was seconded. Brian, did you?
Yes, I said.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to accept the consent agenda in whole, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Any other discussion? Sensing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Sensing none, passed unanimous. We are now items number 9, Sheriff's Report. Himish.
Good evening. We provided you with 41 hours of contract services for the Sheriff's Office. Reviewing the calls for service, again, I'm going to say a rather boring report I'm going to give you. We did remove one drunk driver from the roadway. He tested out at a 0.9. We had a fireworks complaint on Maple Street, and they were ordered to clean up their stuff and discontinue. There was a gunshots complaint on Lake Road that we were unable to locate. Seeing some loud music and some loud party and some music complaints on Maple and Birch Street. They complied every time for us when we told them to turn it down or take it inside, and they did. The noise complaint was the same thing. The suspicious activities that we had, one was just a complete mix-up with a little bit of a language barrier looking for some property on Craigslist, and there's just some confusion there that we worked through. Another suspicious activity was the running lights on the snowplow were stuck on, and our deputies were seeing it and said it's been on for several days, whatever day that was, on the 4th, July 4th. The running lights on a snowplow out by the fire hall.
Oh, batteries were high.
Just some other people that were out walking the suspicious vehicles. Another suspicious vehicle just parked on the side of the road. And another one with a flat tire. We did have a mailbox either got hit or taken, and they did find most of the mail in the ditch, but some of the mail was missing. So we're reporting it as a theft of some of the mail, and they were working on their bills and making sure that everything was taken care of. The biggest call for service is probably our theft from a vehicle that we had a trailer broken into at one of our businesses here in town, and they got a lot of yard work equipment from that they broke into. We did provide you with 54 traffic stops. That number is a little bit higher, but we've also had some special details lately when it comes towards zero death and some of our distracted driving and our speed enforcement. So we did have deputies working overtime, and they did choose some of your area to make some of those stops. Otherwise, I don't have anything else significant. And when you do look at the citations, it does look like a lot of citations, but some of them are duplicates where they were cited for two things for one traffic stop. For instance, if you look at the very first one, they were stopped for speeding, or they got a ticket for speeding, but they also got a ticket for driving after cancellation. So they shouldn't have even been on the road to begin with. And if you look at some significant violations here with driving after suspension, driving without a license, speed, driving after revocation, driving after suspension, driving after suspension, driving after suspension, driving after suspension. So a lot of people out there driving that should not be on the roadway, and we dealt with accordingly. That's all I have for the Sheriff's Office.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Those stations that you put up along the road to flash if you're, what's it take to get one of them? Is there extra charge for that, or just randomly put them out there? Or?
Are you talking about our speed signs or our
Yes.
radar signs?
Yeah.
All you have to do is ask and we'll put them up for a week or two in your area. We do have them on County Road 8 that you guys purchased, and we still have been putting our speed sign in between there.
And 6.
And on 6 trying to slow down. But if you have a specific spot that you wanted, we do have 2 different speed radar signs that we can put up. I have one on the trailer that we can move daily around, and I also have one that I can mount on a sign, and the one I mount on a sign, I can record the traffic, and so if someone's telling me that there's a speed problem there, and I record 300 traffic, and the speed limit is 40 miles an hour, and I've only got 2 cars over 50 miles an hour, you don't have a speed problem. So I'm able to record that with that, but I do need a post or somewhere near the road right away that I can mount that sign on and document that. So all you have to do is send me an email with the location that you want it, and I will place it and give you guys the results later on. Or if you just want the speed, the radar sign up to slow traffic down on the trailer, we can do that too.
What do you think about Broadway Street out here, about a half mile out of town? Seems, and there again, you see cars go by, but, you know,
Yep.
I think sometimes they're going pretty good clip, I don't know.
I can have the trailer out there tomorrow morning before you wake up.
I know they sometimes go fast, it's one of the conveyor, they tell me when they take off, past the conveyor, they're going pretty good.
So do you want it in the 30 zone or do you want it in the
Out.
Out, I think in the 55 mile an hour zone.
coming into town or going out of town?
Probably going out of town, because coming in, they gotta come off at 23, and
Yep.
but going out of town, they seem
All right.
to pick up some pretty good speed.
I'll put the trailer there tonight.
Thank you.
But I think I noticed that, so I think you're doing a good job catching the speeding people on license, but those are the problems we have. And I know because I drove truck for a guy in Hall Hayville, that, yeah. People don't, you can have the biggest low and the most flashing lights on, nobody wants to, and they'll go by you like you're standing still, so I'm glad you see they can get deeper, they're suspended license, but they're not qualified to drive, so I think that's a good idea, getting them off.
Any other comments or questions of Lieutenant Hamish from the council? Sensing none. Marty, Mr. Bodie, anything from you? No? Okay, thank you for that, I shouldn't say boring, but yes, we seem to be in order here as it relates to law enforcement, so thank you again for your special efforts and convey that to the sheriff, if you would, please.
Thank you.
Okay, we now are moving into the fire department.
No report, Mr.
No report for the fire department. There was no council action needed on the sheriff's report or the fire department. Emergency management, I see Mike's in the building. Please proceed.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I come before you tonight to talk about the sirens. We've been looking at a 6-year plan on making sure we have good coverage, and I just want to alert you that I'll be before you in September to approve the next siren purchase. I do have the money in the budget. I am working right now on the location and making sure we can get electricity out there and all the things that we need. We're also looking at the feasibility or cost to repair the siren on the water tower to see if that's a feasible event. Ralph Walsh will be taking it down and we'll be taking it in to see what can be done with it. I just wanted you to be aware, so when you see the information in September. Any questions?
I have one, Mike, and that is, it'll take council action, or is it not a large amount or something like that?
Well, it's a large amount.
Okay,
It's gonna be
okay,
about
well,
18
then
grand.
make sure that we have that information to the administrator so we can circulate it to us in appropriate time so that we can digest it and advance it if it needs workshop. But there is a game plan that you have for emergency management, and that was one of the commitments that we made some time ago to branch out and get larger.
Correct. And I also will include an updated siren map where all the sirens are and the coverage in the packet. I'll have it for your September meeting.
Great. Any other comments, questions? Sensing none? Thank you, Michael. Keep up the great job. Okay, engineering.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Just nothing real specific. I'll give you a short little report on a few things that we've been working on, just on the development side of things. An update on developments that are going on. The Schneider Farm plat, final walkthrough was completed on those public improvements this past month, and then a final punch list was sent out to the developer for that. So there's a few, I'll call them pretty minor, some washouts and record drawings and miscellaneous things, warranty bond that needs to be submitted. Other than that, I would call the development, substantially complete. All the major items are complete. So, the Hilltop Woods or Watkin development, paving is complete on that. The roadway construction is substantially complete. They're working on shouldering this week. Pond work was complete as well. We were out there inspecting that. And then that one will need a final walkthrough on that one as well when the developer's ready. And then some seeding, probably some ditch touch-up work and any other things that we find through the final walkthrough. The Tribal Plaza and development area out there, Marty Harstead's property. We're working on preliminary plans that are under review. Been submitted to us, so we're reviewing those plans. Been working with the developer consistently on that project. Also working with Excel Gas and Stearns Electric on getting gas and electric service out there. That was a little bit of a hiccup last week. That there was some concern about being able to serve that property adequately, so we're working through that and getting that worked out, I think, well with the two utility companies. And Marty and I are assisting in that. That's kind of a development thing, but we just want to assist in any way we can and have discussions with the utility companies on that. So working through that, and then lift station sizing. I'll be working on that coming up here with the developer on sizing that lift station appropriately to serve that development and any other surrounding developments. So that's kind of what's going on there in that area. As far as Stickney Dairy, still working on some items there. We're going to sue Marty on a long-term permit language that will be presented to Stickney very shortly. And then just monitoring our different meters that we have in place, working with daily readings and working with their representative, Stickney's representative on the meter side of things to get everybody in agreement on the meters and everybody on the same page in that area. So that's ongoing. And the last thing I had on my list was the pavement management report. All the data collection, field data collection is complete and analysis is returned. We are finalizing the report. I shouldn't have that ready to go. I also have some input from the RTU committee that Brian had forwarded to me. And we should be ready to present that report to, if it's the RTU committee that you guys want to sit down and look at that together first. I'd probably sit down with staff first and review it with them, and then I guess from there, if council wants to review the report on their own or go to the RTU committee, that's up to you. So, those are the major things I have.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Quick question on that very first one on the Schneider. Is there a retainage that we still have on that? So that retainage would then be let go, or is that?
No, it's 2 years for.
Oh, that's a 2-year. So this is just the field aspect of it is complete, but the.
Yeah, I think we have a very small amount of letter of credit remaining, and then that would be released after we get the warranty bond and all the punch list items are complete.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said retainage, because retainage would be in the contract, and that was completed, but okay. No council action that we need on any of the stuff that relates to the engineering? Okay, well, thank you, Justin, keep up the great work. And, Public Works. Dean?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, I believe you all have my written report in front of you. The only thing I do not have on there, we're getting some preliminary numbers in for the possible new public works building. They're just starting to trickle in. Probably at the next workshop, I'll have more solid numbers and then come together with a decision as to whether to move forward or not. I can go over the whole list, or if there's anybody has any questions about the things on the list, I'm certainly open to them. We only have about a third of the second round of this morning done. We do it as time permits, to be honest with you. Mooring is caught up, then we do the ditch mooring for the second round. So it takes longer the second round because it's not as designated time span. I.e., grass doesn't grow as fast, so that's what we fill in with the ditch mooring on the second round. Pleasant Lake, as most of you know, got a lot of things going on out there. It's good to see that park being used a lot more. Hopefully it'll continue. You know, it's a big area. The city spends a lot of money on it. So the more use it gets, the better off we all are. Other than that, anybody have any questions on the report?
You don't got one for the morning, you're gonna go out a little further the next spot?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We go out, if we can get 3 in the fall, it's better just for the snow removal.
You can get out another far enough with the tractor.
Some areas we can, some areas we can't. As you know, some of the roads in town are pretty steep ditch. You're not gonna make it.
But it looks like what Cutting's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, it does a good job. I wish it was a little bigger.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking, actually, to be honest with you, for this month, they're usually about 8 foot long, give us a little more room.
Yeah.
But the best price for them is usually around December. So, we're probably looking more in December, more serious, I guess.
Getting into the fall season when people around Grand Lake will probably be buttoning things up. Does Hubert Lane look like it's cleaned up and things are out of the road path? You had a chance to get out there and take a look at that?
Not maybe, Jerry, but we will probably October, September, October, like you said, when most of the cabins get buttoned up, then we can see what's left behind, see how many of our sticks or our markers got disappeared, how many we have replaced.
You think maybe you should go through there while they're out there and you can tell them to put their crap
We
on?
can drive through there, but a lot of the thing, the more serious stuff you're talking about is you know, landscaping type of things, you know, and I haven't seen none of those. A lot of times they'll put a little swirl or duck out there or something, you know.
Just maybe stop the plow and drive through the summer.
Yeah, that's true.
Any other comments, questions? Dean, I had one, and that is from the Pleasant Lake, affectionately known as Rockville Northeast. That area, some concern about the branches on the walking trail, and there's a tree right behind the pavilion that the trees look like they're close. I don't know how you get the mow underneath there. So is that on your radar screen?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I usually as time permits because it's not like a priority item. But yeah, usually we try and get out there once a year and trim them out. I like to wait with the trees until like September, October. Usually in the middle of summer, a lot of times you can kill the tree if you take
Or
a branch. Yeah.
After mowing and before snow plowing for a brief moment?
Well, you just do less damage to the tree usually.
Okay.
Less chance of
Actually,
getting
best
killed.
time for trees in the wintertime, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is by far. Sure, absolutely.
Well, we won't get any snow and then we'll just have lots of time for trees.
I like it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Keep up the great work, Dean.
Thank you.
Okay, administration, anything from you, Mr. Bodie?
If I could, Mr. Mayor. If you allow me a couple minutes, and again, on the screen I put back up the zoning section for administration. This section is what I follow to adhere to your guidance and direction to be your employee as a city administrator and a zoning administrator for the city of Rockville. And I think during the workshop, if there was public in the audience and they heard the rather spirited conversation between some of us, that's not all that unusual. Maybe today was a little more than normal, but some of us have spirited conversations in my office, and I appreciate the fact that most of us are really open and honest about discussion, because we don't want that happening here at a very formal public meeting. And a comment was made, "You're my boss." That's true. In this setting, when you five come together, you're my boss, I need your direction. And when you're not in session, this is the section I use as my direction for zoning. And in the last couple of weeks, I have to be honest with you, I'm extremely uncertain as what you want from me when it comes to zoning. Whether I have a call come in, an email come in, whether one of you tell me about a zoning violation, too many parked cars, trash in the yard, the house that Lieutenant Hemish had his officer view on Cedar, I think it is. All of that gets very confusing as to what direction you want me to go. My interpretation of item 3, I take literally. I get complaints and I investigate the complaints and I send out a notice if in fact I feel it's a complaint. Interpreting zoning. Councils make policy. Councils approve zoning. It's my job to enforce it and implement it. That's my job. Each one of you, each of us has a different opinion about what we read. It's my job to do the best I can. And when a complaint comes in and they don't feel that my judgment is correct, they should come to you in a formal way. But I don't think it's right for a council member individually to act as the city engineer or the city attorney or the city zoning administrator. I'm asking you for respect that says, when I use the professional staff and I make a judgment, we're your staff. When I send out a zoning violation and they call you, it's really hard for the city staff when we hear, oh, you can ignore that, just blow it off. When we send out an invoice for payment, don't bother paying that. We're here to serve you. You're the boss. I will do what you want. Just tell me what you want. My suggestion on this section 4, if you don't want me doing this, I would ask you for formal action to suspend section 4 indefinitely until you come up with some other, what you want done for zoning. I'm here at your pleasure, not mine.
Well, just learning about this tonight, this section, I think I would recommend that our legal get involved with our administrator to make these things intertwine. Because my opinion right now is they don't. My opinion.
And to that end, Marty, did you have anything else, or Mr. Boyd?
Okay, Mr. Becker, that doesn't solve what to me is clearly item number 3.
That's what I'm saying. I would ask you to make it clear in the ordinance and on there.
We can do that, Mr. Becker, we will do that, but I had this come up 3 years ago, and it was clear then, when a council member questioned me like you did, that section of 31, enforcement, was referring to legal, not day-to-day.
That's why I'm saying if I misunderstood it, or any of us understood it, we should make it more clear.
We will do that, and I will bring something to you. Will you please acknowledge that I am here to serve you as a whole?
In the spirit of the conversations that Mr. Boyd talked about earlier, I will agree that workshops have done a phenomenal job for us, collectively, the 5 of us, to truly interact and get at great ideas. Usually not necessarily a group hug when we're down because of the COVID or something like that, but we walk out of here, and most of us, I should be speaking for the others, but we feel that we did a pretty good job. And there's an election coming up, and if you don't like it, there's an opportunity. But in the meantime, tonight was probably a little bit more spirited than usual, but quite frankly, when it's all over and done with it, this governance of the city of Rockville is in great hands, and I believe, Susan, that the specifics that Mr. Becker just shared, we need to look at that, and if it needs to be tweaked, but we don't, I don't feel that we should be involved in day-to-day operations.
Well, this is contradicting each other, in my opinion. Let's iron it out, let's get on the same ballpark, and I think we're going to do it.
And so, and that's, in the spirit of cooperation, I says that that's what's going to be happening, and at this stage of the game, let us continue to go forward in this great city of Rockville and try to have these impediments as few, as far between as we need to. Any other comments as it relates to administration? Anything else? Okay, any of the council members want to add? Okay, we will then move on to item number 11, and that's council actions. We have resolution 2020-30, creative capital holdings, and there was a circulation very late this afternoon, I believe, or today sometime, with one more item. That item 17 for all the council members that was added.
I would make a motion to approve it as been presented with the update.
I would second that, and by the way, thank you, Justin, for adding 17.
For the public purpose.
You added number 17 to that.
Yeah, so 17 is included, right, Bill? Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor and council members, if I could, I have on the agenda a resolution approving, let me get it up there, will you please? If somebody's got it, if they'd read the heading on that resolution.
The 2020-30.
A resolution approving of a conditional use application and finding of fact.
Okay, if we could take 2 separate actions, one to approve that resolution and a second one approving the actual CUP.
Okay.
That would be okay?
In that order?
Yes.
Well, we've got the motion and second for the CUP already.
Let's do that one, because we got it on the floor.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor and a second to go ahead with the conditional use permit as presented. And any other discussion from the council? Sensing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. And the abstentions, sensing none, passed unanimous. Now it would be in order for a motion for resolutions 2020-30.
Is this just mirroring the CUP?
One is a resolution approving, basically it's approving your findings of facts.
Oh, that's why you wanted it before. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's okay. If you don't mind, I'll just invert them, it's all right.
Yeah. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2020-30.
Second,
okay, so there's a motion and a second to advance resolution 2020-30, and that's the resolution approving the conditional use of application and findings of facts. And so at this point, any other discussion? Sensing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, nay. The abstentions, passed unanimous. Okay, we are now at road and bridge referendum. Was there a motion?
I'm proposing this referendum for the purpose of road maintenance. The property taxes have been raised 19%. I'm proposing this 19% increase to be moved to the referendum. This will neither increase nor decrease your taxes. What my suggestion for doing this is to stop the snowball effect of property taxes. You raise property taxes 19% now, 4 or 5 years down the road, you increase it another 6 or 7%, that's on top of the 19% now. We've got road expenses. I'm looking for a way to separate that so we don't have this snowball effect on property taxes. The referendum would simply be to separate property taxes from road maintenance. And it'd be a start. A 2-year referendum could be a start. At the end of 2 years, we can take a look at our road costs and probably pass another referendum. We are in direct competition with cities around us for property taxes. We need businesses in this town to support our expenses. We're not going to get businesses in this town if property taxes continue to increase. We've got also our postal addressing on the same issue because our businesses are having problems getting delivery with the mailing addresses. I think this would be hand in hand to promote, keep property taxes down and also get this postal addressing done so these businesses don't have such a hard time getting their deliveries made. We've got trucks in our industrial park up there with Cold Spring addresses on. I think these two things would intertwine and help us out. You don't drown from falling in the water, you drown from staying in it, and I think Rockville is staying in it. And I make a motion to have a referendum on our November election to separate our property tax from our road maintenance.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Could I ask for clarification?
I'll just second it for, doesn't lack of discussion, so that it doesn't die for lack of discussion. Okay, now please proceed, Mr. Bodie. I think we need some clarification, particularly for the public that may be watching. We had a conversation during our workshop, and this needs to have some clarity. So whoever feels well versed on this, please. So Mr. Bodie, when you put
Member Tipple,
will allow.
you're asking for a referendum to separate. I can attest to you that it is already separate from revenue and road and bridge. I want to ask you, I think you're asking to have a referendum, and I don't know the number. You did place 250,000 or 500,000 on the referendum. I think
To start, the 19% increase, which I understand is 250,000.
okay, so your motion.
And that would, I think, people, they want a road plan and they want to know where the money's going. And this would specifically ear-tag road maintenance, and it'd be a start in 6 or 7 years, I think it's 7 years, our city hall, our fire hall will be paid for. We won't have this debt hanging over our head. Maybe we won't need this type of system then, but I think for now, we've got a snowball effect on our property taxes, and I think this is the way to stop it.
Okay, we'll open it up for discussion from the council members. One of the things I'd like to quickly remind the public that they're watching, last year we had an event of roughly $200,000 over half of the main prairie or the Tower Road, which was a large monumental increase that we will not have others. And I've already talked to Mr. Bodie, in the early stages of the budgeting for next year, we're attempting to stay with zero increase. And I think hopefully that we're going to monitor. All of us got a lot of grief last year from the amount of budget increase and some of that. So let us continue to go forward. Let's continue to focus on the resolution, not all of the other stuff. So the request is for a referendum to be put on there, and that's time sensitive, so we can't wait until next month for additional one. There's only a few more days for us, for the city administrator to prepare. So before we vote on it, the dollar value rather than a percentage. So I think that's the first thing that we need to
I
do.
want to make it clear that this is not to raise taxes anymore. It's the start to separate property tax from road maintenance. And every year, we can ask the public, this is what we need for road maintenance, and they can agree or disagree on this is what we're going to spend. I want to make that clear.
Okay, please, Mr. Bodie.
How's your patience level, Jerry?
Very well.
Okay. If you look up on the screen, Jerry, this is the summary budget that the council works on. And in the lower left corner, you'll see Fund 215, Road and Bridge. This shows up on your tax statement. When you approve Road and Bridge, it is not part of general revenue. It is separated for Road and Bridge. It is separate. The public will know how much they're being taxed for Road and Bridge. It is not lost in the general revenue. So your motion is confusing to me, and I'm only trying to, I think I know what you want, but I want to try to help you get there. Your motion was to separate levy from road and bridge. That's already done. When I submit your tax levy to the county, I pull out road and bridge, and it shows up on a separate line. So does Lake Improvement District. You see that 19,500. EDA is a separate line on your tax statement, 2,000. Debt service, I believe, are all combined into one. That I do not have separate. So that total debt service shows up as one line, city debt. So I think, Jerry, you want a referendum asking the public, that 460 you see there was 250 the year before. We increased it $210,000.
That's correct.
So I think that's what you want on your referendum. You want to ask the public, can we increase your taxes by $210,000 for X trade of years for road and bridge? I think that's what you're asking. If I'm wrong, then you can.
I'm not asking for any more tax increase. I'm simply asking for a start. So the public has an idea of where we're going with road expense.
Jerry, in my mind, a referendum, if you're asking for $210,000 or $250,000, and they say yes, that's going to be a tax increase. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what the public is saying.
A referendum is a tax increase.
You know, at the risk of you guys shooting me, but he wants to reduce the levy by the amount of a referendum. I believe that's what he wants to do.
Correct.
That's not possible.
Well, this would be for the year 2021.
Correct.
Taxable 2021. So this year is not, and that's established. So for 2021, the referendum, if it were to go from here to the ballot box in November, what is it that we want to have on that referendum, and it would have to pass by a majority here. I think that's
I believe you said $210,000.
Yeah, I need the attorney's help to draft this question. We're only allowed so much room to draft your question on the ballot.
And at time certain, 1 year, 5 years, whatever.
And that's what I'm afraid of.
Yes.
If we turn this into that referendum, the voters can vote that down, and in 2021, that $210,000 will disappear.
Will you let me say?
Well, we wouldn't be increasing it. Our hands
We
are
wouldn't
tied.
be increasing the tax burden to the taxpayers. We'd simply be shifting the $250,000 over to the referendum, correct?
In a sense, Jerry, but let's see if I can keep this really simple. By September 30th, you have to approve a preliminary budget. It can be lowered but not raised. If you, let's say the council approves your referendum tonight for 225, let's just use that number, 225 on the referendum. That will come to a vote November 3rd. By September 30th, you've got to decide, what if the voters voted down? Do you want it part of this tax levy or not? Do you want it part of the tax levy, the way you've been doing it? If you say no and you lower the tax levy and they vote the referendum down, you've lost the money. You can't raise the levy. If you say, let's put the referendum for November 3rd and let's keep it on here, now you're doubling the taxes because it's showing up on the tax levy and it's showing up on the referendum. I don't think you can have it both ways.
They will hang you.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And
One of the things that I sense that we are so close to the next part of the bottle, and that is, we heard it clearly from a lot of taxpayers, that the pain is disturbing. When is it going to quit? It's like drilling in a dentist office. With Justin's almost unveiling in very short order, which roads are in the worst case scenario, needs to be mill and overlay and all that, and Brian has the RTU committee that will be in concert with that, eventually comes to us as a council to either give it a blessing or modifying it or something like that. So we're very, very close at this point. And we have additional revenue coming in with taxes coming in. So, I seriously think if this bump in the road that we had last year with the 200,000 with the neighboring community, Main Prairie Township, had that not have happened, we'd have been at a 6%, 7% increase.
Smooth down.
And so to that end, I think that's where we're at. Other comments from the council members as it relates to the motion? If not, then we will...
I call the question.
I'm just looking at this, I'm doing some research, I went on my computer, trying to find the state statute of referendums in different places, I do it. A referendum, you vote and you need majority vote as to where to pass. It has to meet a majority. And you pass it, you're not exempt from capital property taxes. You can still, anybody else stay or somebody can still raise your property taxes, the way I read it.
Absolutely.
And I'm not the one, we got schools, people have won a referendum for school bond, you got this bond, you pay, how many people this year now didn't work with all this, and right now, I can't keep doing it because you're gonna put a specific amount we have to have here, what this would be. And I'm not about to go out there and say we're gonna have this much more. We make our budget, we got a road plan coming now, and I know some townships have the same issue. They do not have the money, so.
Okay, other comments? And before I call the question, we certainly need to have clarity so that we know. And I think, Susan, if you are the one that needs to help with that, if it would go forward, then we need to have what? A dollar value and a time certain of how much, and it has to be precise to abide by the requirement of the state statute on the verbiage.
Yes.
I think if I could, Mr. Mayor, I would ask Member Tippel to restate his motion.
Okay.
For the record. And we will work with it, Jerry, but if you'll state exactly what you're asking.
I was asking for the tax increase to be put over on a referendum, not to increase taxes and not to add an additional monies on a referendum. Simply trying to get a base mark for the general public to approve or disapprove money that we spend on the roads. How I should word that, I don't know right
Could I
now.
help you? You make a motion for a referendum for $210,000 for 4 years. Could you do that? Or what, or how many years do you want?
Well, I was thinking too, but
Okay, do that. 210 for 2 years. And the attorney and I will work with that if it's approved. Is that
okay,
okay?
go with that.
Okay, $210,000 referendum for 2 years, Mr. Mayor. And okay,
Now, is that a $210,000 tax increase? Is that what we're indicating? Because that is what my intent.
if the mayor's gonna allow this, then you would have to, at the tax levies section, lower the road and bridge by that 210. That's a council action.
Yeah, when we get into the September, and if that's the case, that we want to go and lower it by 210,000, then it becomes a moot issue, because then the taxpayers would be seeing that we are decreasing that amount. Is that a fair statement?
It is, but if the referendum fails, then you have lost the money.
Yeah, so if the referendum would fail, no, if it would, the referendum is to
put 210,000 on the taxes for 2 years.
Okay.
If it fails, then you've lost the.
That's right.
And that's the fear. We would end up losing 210 grand by doing that.
That's not the information I got from the solid waste.
Okay.
I've got the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so it's clear that we're going to be asking for, the motion is to have a $210,000 referendum for 2 years, and that will be put onto the ballot for the public to pursue. And I'll call that question. All those in favor of that?
Is there a second to that motion?
I believe I did, just for the sake of.
He redid his motion, so I...
Oh, well, I'll second it just so that we don't lose it for discussion.
Okay.
Any other last discussion? Okay, since we're ready to vote, any abstentions? Sensing none, you want a roll call vote?
I'll roll call. On the question of the referendum, Member Simon?
Nay.
Member Herbert?
Nay.
Member Tipple?
Yay.
Member Becker?
No.
Mayor Willenbring?
Hey.
That is a 4-1 against the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now move on to the, that was the road bridge. Number C has been struck from our agenda, so we are now at council action 11D, resolutions 2020-31 postal addressing.
And I'm just going to go back from what I said at the workshop. If we're just asking or requesting the USPS to change to Rockville, and we need to let the citizens know that changing your address is not mandatory, but will be voluntary. So I would be okay with the resolution if that's agreeable.
Okay.
Could I ask for input from our city attorney as far as there's a lot been concern about having to change your driver's license and your will and your commercial DOT. Could you have input on that and give us some insight on that as far as what has to be done?
Sure. Since the decision to change the city on your addressing is optional, you wouldn't have to necessarily change any of those. When you look at legal descriptions that you have on your deed and in your wills, it's the legal description, it's not your address that counts. So you don't normally say my property located at 516 East Lake Street. You say the northwest quarter of section, township, and range. Or it's lot 1, block 1 of such and such subdivision. So this really isn't going to affect any of those matters at all.
So is it correct to say that your geographic location and your mailing address don't agree right now, but if we do this address change, they may be more accurate?
Well, I think you're identifying these properties as being in the city of Rockville versus being in.
And it was stated it's option, it's not a mandate, that we have to do it through attrition through the years, and I sense that there was a motion, Bill, was that correct?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2020-31. And in that motion, I want to make sure that city residents are aware that they are not mandated to change their address.
That's on page 66 of your packet.
I would second that.
You second that, Pierce? Okay, any other discussion?
So if I'm hearing this correctly, somebody can write Rockville in there instead of Cold Spring or St. Cloud or Kimball, or they can leave it the same.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
That's correct. And the zip code will continue to be the same. That's the objective.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments? It took a long time for us, let's make it happen. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Passed unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we are now at item number 11E, and Bill, we want to proceed now?
So under letter E, I asked to have Cole and Heather Thomas's driveway put on the agenda for council action. In my discussion and in my learning tonight, over the last couple of weeks, I feel that the residents, the owner, and the permittee were attempting to do the right thing. As I misunderstood maybe tonight from our engineer and began to understand, I think they've done the right thing. They tried to do the right thing. And I would like to see the council support, I'll make that into a motion, that we don't do anything about this and we see it's the right way. If we end up working with them on a variance, or excuse me, some other way besides variance to allow this, I would like to see that. I really think they did the right thing.
You made a motion?
Yes.
Second.
And that motion, just so it's clear, we as a council are sending a signal to our administrator that we feel that the current application of the tar installation will stay as is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, could I just ask one thing, and that is, our Public Works is here, Gene, you're aware of it. Could I ask, there's a spot, it looks like that's the highest crown in that road, but there's impediment dirt in the area between that and News, as you're looking at it from the front, to dig that out to get water to flow as it cascades down the Thomas driveway, spills off. It really doesn't have an opportunity to go towards the 400 road. Can that be fixed up, or is that a day-to-day operation?
I know.
No. Could I ask a question, Mr. Mayor?
Sure, please.
Ask Member Becker if he'd be willing to consider a motion that the city suspend the enforcement letter to allow 30 days for the property owner to apply for a variance. I don't think it's appropriate to, I don't know if you can even legally allow
I
something without
I
variance.
understand exactly what you're saying, but in my thoughts, they try to do the right thing and now we're going to charge them a couple $100. I don't like it. But I mean, I understand. And that's why in my motion, I wanted the city to work with them, whatever we have to do. And I know I'm floundering.
We as a council.
I'm floundering here.
Yeah, we as a council could stay the cost of the variance so that because of the uniqueness, and then give it an opportunity. That's the way Mr. Bodie gets his in, because that way gives us one time, Bill, you're right.
I don't know, can we do that?
Thank you, Dwayne, as far as the discussion mode here. I see where Marty's going. He needs to get it cleared up as far as the verbiage and paperwork, and the variance would take care of that. And so to just sit here and just...
How about suspend my letter?
Yeah.
Just for right now, just suspend it, and then we can talk some other time. Just suspend action on my letter indefinitely.
Do we want...
I just leave it. I mean,
Yeah.
just...
Could we ask the attorney to explain
Well,
what she explained to us in the workshop about the kind of the variance after the fact thing with the hardship? Could you go through that again for us, please?
Well, every variance, in order to grant it, requires a showing of hardship. And we had some discussion about this particular property and why it would be difficult to move the driveway further over just because of the geographical aspects of that property. Which to me, that goes to the heart of when you grant a variance. That shows there's a hardship specific to that property. And what we discussed earlier was, with an after-the-fact permit, it's not something, an after-the-fact variance application, we don't like to encourage that because we want people to comply with our ordinances or else come in beforehand and get their variances. And we had discussed, some jurisdictions have a more expensive application fee for after-the-fact permits, but it didn't seem like this was the case to adopt that kind of penalty fee.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll redo my motion to suspend the current letter of enforcement indefinitely.
I'll second that.
And that's exclusively the extent of our motion at this point?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Great.
Yes.
You've got a clear understanding what we're going to be voting on, and that is the action that was taken?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So all those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Abstentions, passed unanimous. Passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Any more action that we need, or let administration and the owners continue?
Yes.
Okay?
Then I have F as in Frank.
Could I just throw something out there for a second? I think we solved half the problem. I don't think we answered the question as far as the city administrator wanting to know what his...
Yes, we did. We asked them to take it on. We solved that.
Explain that to me, please.
We asked the attorney and the city administrator to mesh the two together. So
I think
understand.
he's talking about the issue of the driveway, so.
If there is I think we as a council should give a directive to Mr. Bodie that if there takes an after the fact, that we would go and waive the cost of the variance.
No, we
No,
did that.
that wasn't the motion.
No, but it could be.
No, I know, but I think the next, my line.
It's not done.
It's not done yet, and the next thing is to make this so that this violation stays away, is that we get a variance.
And Marty said we would discuss that.
We'll
after
just suspend it for now. And we'll
Okay.
move on, Jerry.
Okay, all right.
Okay, but that would give a signal that's being sent that we might be amenable to, if it needs to have an after the fact, that we would be amenable to go and waive that cost of the variance. Okay, when the time comes. Thank you.
Okay, so the last one is F, and it's the abandoned house with the cats.
And that's a specific address.
Well, there shouldn't be any mice.
Just to write it for the record, we should look at the specific address.
Ask Sue if she wrote it down. Yes. Did you write it down, Sue, what I gave you? You didn't?
I did not.
I will be
What's
right
the
back
street?
here in a second.
Okay, it's happening here as we speak, so just a little bit of background, there's been a home that appears to have been abandoned, and there has been an attempt by our city administrator to get in contact with them, and there's abandoned cars, and
341 Cedar Street South. 341 Cedar Street South.
341 Cedar Street South, easy. And so we as a council are giving the directive to Mr. Bodie to work with Susan to enforce that. That's the action, I believe, Bill, right, that you were going to.
Well, I was going to ask Lieutenant Hammes just to do a brief summary of what we discussed before.
We attempted to make contact with the owners on Friday and were unsuccessful. They stopped in there, and I believe they also made several phone calls with negative contact.
Okay. And Mr. Administrator, Bodie also has pursued that, and so we're at a loss unless we go in action further, and that's what we're doing. So that takes up a motion.
I would ask for a motion to use legal and the building official. If it's a blighted property, there's another process to go through for the council to act on a blighted property. I'd ask to start that process just in case that's what this is.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second. Motion and second to proceed with the action of our legal counsel and our building official along in concert with our city administrator for the enforcement of the blighted piece of property that was alluded to earlier on Cedar. All those in favor of that motion? Yeah, Don?
I'd like to make one comment. This kind of reminds me back I don't know how many years ago, 10 maybe more, with the issue down at the apartment complex where cars were sitting there, unlicensed cars, I don't know what, the property owner at that time, we were the property owner, but to get them to move that we finally had, I think we had registered letters, and I don't know if even get legal action taken to get it cleaned up, so this one we can get, not with legal, but we can't contact, we have to clean that building out there. It's a problem, and another thing, if that building, we don't know what's inside, you have a house next to it, and you have a cabinet shop. The problem is, if there's a fire, what is the consequences there?
Okay.
That's all I want to add.
Thank you, Don. Okay, I sense that we're ready to call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Any abstention? Passed unanimous. Okay, for the order, anybody else have any?
Yes, I got an afterthought, going back to this Pilgrim Road restriction, that permit, is that even, what about spring of the year type? Can we, I mean, we can...
We have to abide by all of the
Pardon?
laws.
They go away, then all those overweight permits automatically go away when the road restrictions go on.
Okay, that's what I wanted, because that road out there...
That's a state law.
Motion to adjourn.
Could I please,
Yes.
real quickly?
Yes, did that take care of you, Jerry? Answer that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yes, Mr. Boyd.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, if you would all look at your calendars, or when you get a chance to, the November 11th meeting is a holiday, and also there is a conflict with the state statute with canvassing elections, so November 3rd is a Tuesday, is the elections. We have to canvass those elections 3 to 10 days after the election, so that means between Friday the 6th and Friday the 13th, and Planning Commission is scheduled for November 3rd with the planning chair here. If you'd write it in his notes, I will ask if we could move Planning Commission to Monday the 2nd.
Okay, that's fine.
And I will ask council either to move the council meeting to the 9th or the 12th. I'll ask you whatever you think. Monday the 9th or Thursday the 12th.
Why is November 11th and a Wednesday is typical?
Veterans Day.
Oh, it's a Veterans Day for some people, okay. So we can't have it then. Okay, it's a non-standard day if it's on a Wednesday. What's the reference of the council that's making right now? Get it around.
Monday or
What
Thursday.
day?
So we can't have the council meeting on Veterans Day, you're saying?
It's a holiday.
So it has to be after the
Following
election?
Wednesday? Following Wednesday? What did you
day requirement? We have to canvass the 3
Yeah, but the canvassing could be 7 days after the election to get that back in.
3 to 10.
Yeah, when I was on the phone yesterday with League and Secretary of State was on there, it said 7 days
That
minimum.
would put us at the 18th, huh?
No, 6 to 13. What are you saying about 7 days?
7 days after, in the November election that's being contested in court right now, but it could be 7 days after the election before all of the,
But that's not the law today though, right?
no, but it's being contested.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it after the, let's say, the 12th, does that work out?
12 to 6.
What's with you two down there?
Donnie, Jerry, the 12th, either of you guys, you available, Marty? Okay. November 12th will be our standard city council meeting in the month of November. That's taken care of.
Thanks, Mr.
Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made, second?
Second.
Motion's been made, and second to adjourn. It's not debatable. All those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, staff.